Did you make a 2025 plan, maybe some New Year's resolutions, annual planning, block things out for the whole year, set some goals, and did it all completely fall apart by February, maybe even earlier? Maybe you bought the pretty planner, you color coded everything, and thought, this time will be different. And then it wasn't. Life happened, a sick kid, a rough week, a surprise expense, and all your carefully laid out goals and plans are buried under laundry and guilt. You are not the only one. Most of us start out strong with high hopes and a lot of optimism and end up discouraged and frustrated and probably wanting to give up on planning and goal setting altogether. It shouldn't be that way. What we need is a different kind of plan and a different approach to goals. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Mystie Winckler, homeschool mom of 5, homemaker for almost 25 years, and founder of Convivial Circle, a community helping Christian moms build cheerful, flexible routines that fit real life. I've scrapped more planners and more New Year's resolutions than I can count. But every time my plan failed according to my expectations, I actually learned so much. What I've learned over the years is that it's not necessarily about achieving all the plans that we lay out, achieving all the goals. It's really about walking in faithfulness. And we need some goals in order to do that, but we also need to hold them loosely and evaluate our progress with a long-term perspective and with a generous interpretation of what it counts to have worked the plan. That's what we're going to talk about today: how to make a plan and then focus on faithfulness within the plan, which does not look like perfect execution of the plan or even achieving all the goals. So this is perfect timing for this episode. Grab a basket of laundry to fold and let's dig in so we are ready for 2026. Okay, so you've made plans before. Recall in your mind the last big picture plan you made. Maybe it was just last year. Maybe it's been a few years because you've kind of given up on the whole New Year's plan thing. How long did the plan last? Did it even make it onto paper after you wrote it down in your perfect little pretty planner? Did you look at it again after that? Most of our plans, especially big picture annual plans, fall apart because they're built for ideal conditions and because we don't really look at them after we make them. When we're writing out our goals and making our plans, we assume that we will always feel as motivated to do them as we do in the moment we are writing them in beautiful statements color-coded in our planner. We assume that this time the kids will cooperate and that nothing unexpected will happen. Then the unexpected does happen, and so we throw it all out the window and forget about it. And it's the throwing it out the window and scrapping everything and feeling like it was all a waste of time. Making the plan wasn't the problem. Writing it down was definitely not the problem. And even life happening in unexpected ways isn't the problem. We don't make a plan and then expect that it will only work if we correctly predicted the future. We cannot correctly predict the future. Our plans should have some margin, maybe a lot of margin, for life not happening in any kind of predictable way. After all, God uses interruptions to grow us in patience. God topples plans so that we do not get stuck in pride and arrogance. God sends the unpredictable future to remind us that we must depend on Him and walk in faith and trust, not in micromanaged control. Planning is not a way to control the future. And if we treat it that way, we are setting ourselves up for failure because we're making a plan in pride, and God brings pride down, which is a good thing for us. But that doesn't mean that all planning, therefore, is a waste of time. All planning isn't necessarily control. Only prideful planning. We can plan with humility, and we actually need a plan to move forward with faithfulness. Faithfulness knows the direction we should be heading. Faithfulness understands our priorities and responsibilities and sets things up so that we can walk in that way. It takes time and attention and work, and a plan helps us stick with that path instead of forgetting about it or getting distracted. So then, even if our plan doesn't exactly work out the way we thought it should, there's no failure involved. Instead, we look and we pick up the pieces and we take the next best step, which we are able to because we've thought things through. Usually the priorities don't actually shift that much. Sometimes they do, but most of the time when our plans fall apart, we just need more patience, more perseverance, and a resilient cheerfulness that is not afraid to keep moving forward into the unknown. Faithfulness, of course, means staying on the same path, continuing in the same way, just like Christian in Pilgrim's Progress. All kinds of things happened on his road to the celestial city, but he was faithful as long as he stayed on that path. He didn't know what would happen on that path, but he knew his job was to stay on the path, and it's the same for us. Just because hardship happens while we're on the path, just because an obstacle gets in our way, doesn't necessarily mean we're on the wrong path. Faithfulness continues through, keeping our eyes on Christ, because we don't diagnose whether or not we're on the right path by whether or not it's easy. God never promised us an easy path. And so planning our life or arranging our life so that more of it will be easy is not necessarily the step of faithfulness. Now, it's great to streamline things and to ask whether or not we're making things too hard on ourselves, but probably the way we're making it too hard on ourselves is by trying to exercise control of circumstances or other people. And instead, what we need is self-control. We need to keep our hearts and our minds focused on truth to stay on the path. We need to be reading the Bible. We need to be praying every day, non-negotiable. We need to not judge our work or our plans based on our accuracy. Because as humans, as servants of the Lord who is in control of all things and who does send unpredictable needs our way, the question we have to ask in order to judge how our plan went is, did I respond in faith and gratitude to what God sent me today? Not did I achieve everything on my list, or even did my house end up clean at the end of the day. There are all kinds of faithful reasons why that might not have happened. And so instead of setting up some kind of external standard to judge ourselves by and to judge our circumstances by, we need to be asking the right kind of assessment questions and reviewing our day with gratitude always. It is gratitude for what God has sent that will move us forward with cheerful productivity, motivated to continue on the way, no matter what happens. Gratitude does more to clear our future path than any kind of efficiency setup we might come up with. But to have gratitude takes review. And often when we're planning, we don't pause to review. We just imagine the future only. Like, well, here we are. Let's forget what happened before and just pretend everything's going to be all new moving forward. Set ourselves up for a blank slate. Imagine some kind of new leaf or makeover that's going to suddenly make everything different and everything fall into place for us. And then we wonder why that never really seems to work. Our planning, especially our big picture planning, needs to start with review. And that review of the past, maybe it's just the day, maybe the week, maybe the whole year. Have you ever reviewed your whole year? You should. And then you should take time to intentionally remember all you can with gratitude. It does take time. But meditating on God's goodness to us over the last year and renewing our hearts and minds, focusing on God's work in our lives and the lives of those around us, completely changes the manner in which we approach the coming year. So before you set up any plans for 2026, go back over your photos in 2025 on your phone. Look back over your calendar. Take the time to really remember, to think about the things that happened. And as things come up, and no matter what has happened in 2025 in your life, you can pause and pray and recognize God's goodness to you in those circumstances, through those circumstances, and then you can be grateful. And gratitude is a motivating force. Gratitude keeps us on the right path and moves us forward with faithfulness to stay the course. If you need more faithfulness, then you first need more gratitude. Your plans should start from a place of gratitude for the past, not imaginary idealism for the future. If you want some help looking back on the year in gratitude, using that to inform your perspective of where you're actually starting right now, and then moving forward in faithfulness to really focus on gratitude and progress and momentum in 2026, then join us for Ready 5, our annual review process inside Convivial Circle. The goal is not to make a perfect plan. The goal is to make a realistic one grounded in where you are right now and what God is calling you to right now, where you're at. If you've ever thought, planning just doesn't work for me, come do Ready 5 with us and see how to make realistic plans grounded in reality and hope, not perfectionist idealism. We start with a kickoff workshop on November 26th, and we work through the 5-step process for about 1 hour a week, 5 weeks, Thanksgiving through New Year. This is our 5th year working through Ready 5, and the members inside Convivial Circle and myself are excited to do it again. We would love to have you join us, where we will make a plan to repent, rejoice, repeat.